Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic: from sea urchins to starfish, exploring echinoderm diversity, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Melissa Silva. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Take it away, Melissa.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Let's get started with this topic that I find to be very interesting, like all the others I've always talked about. But it's always neat to know, to get to know a little bit more about nature. That's me. I'm a marine biologist, Melissa, and I remember one of my first encounters with echinoderms. It was with not, of course, on the souvenir stands, you were able to see everywhere, in every beach, I'm pretty sure on every touristic beach in the world, you can see the starfish or the sea urchin skeleton, and they are very neat. But like as a marine biologist, starting my career, I remember seeing this very thin arm starfish that is actually not a starfish, it's another group within the echinoderms, the brittle stars. And I remember seeing them, and they were so weird because they move very fast. They are like very elastic in a certain way. So as I was studying on my career, when we get to the subject in one of the classes, it all makes sense, like all the groups within the echinoderm taxa. So for the webinars, while just checking which topic I was going to talk about, I said like, well, I think most of the people know the echinoderms, but we know them just because of like the I don't know, pop culture. If you think about SpongeBob, the cartoon, you remember his best friend Patrick, the starfish. So there they are. Like these marine animals are in the popular culture all around. I think it's a very important or a very interesting topic to talk about in this webinar. So as you can see, for example, on these photos, the ones on the left of your screen is what we can find when we are in their environment, when we are scuba diving or just snorkeling. The top left photo, it's one here in Mexico, in Cozumel Island, on the Caribbean side. The area is called El Cielo, like the heaven or the sky, because in a short area, in a very small area, we can find hundreds of starfish. So it's just like a starry sky, like a starry bottom in this place. So you can snorkel and take some photos. It's a very nice place, El Cielo. And the photos that you can see on the right side of your screen is what I was mentioning, like all these uh, evidence or all these elements that we have of this group of the echinoderms within the day by day culture. So, for example, we have the starfish making a hanger for the an ornament to hang from the Christmas tree, and this one on the bottom top, a beautiful necklace made out of the sea urchin shape. So I'm pretty sure you have seen tons of these things in cards and toys with these shapes. But let's go into the scientific, the nerdy part of this, the biology, a little bit of the ecology of these organisms, and later on you will know that the echinoderms are not only starfish and sea urchins. So all of these are marine invertebrates, the echinoderm group. Some of them can be found in brackish water, which is this mix of seawater and fresh water, like the mangrove area or the wetlands that we have by the coasts. Um, so the phylum Echinodermata is divided in these five different classes, as you can see. Um, among with the sum of all of them, there are more or less 6,000 different species that are alive to the date. This is one of the groups that date back the oldest on the geological register. And eventually I will tell you a little bit more about each one of them. But the classes are the Crinoidea, which is a group that we know more commonly as feather stars or sea lilies. Most of these species are sessile. They are immobile. They basically get attached to an area. They have a stem, and they are just filtering the water around the place. Then we have the brittle stars and the sea stars in the classes of Uroidea and Asteroidea. You can see they are very similar. Of course, the main difference is the shape of their body, among other things. But that's how you can tell one from another, with this characteristic on the central part of the body, very well delimited, the central body on the brittle stars. And well, sea stars are this like a little bit more chubby shape. Then we have the sea urchins on the Echinoderm class, and the sea cucumbers on the Holoturoidea class. Eventually I will mention, like, basically all of these have the same body structure, just in a different position. But what I want to mention, as I said, one of the most one of the oldest registers that we have in the fossil record. They date back to more or less 500 million years ago. So that is on the Cambrian period. uh, and luckily for us, their fossils are very well preserved in most of the cases. Not all of them are like in full mode, like this one here we can see on the rock, but some of them have just like a certain part of the body in like excellent preservation. Um, the very first echinoderms were sessile, as I mentioned, and they were very similar to the sea lilies, to the feather stars that we have nowadays, as you can see. The general shape of these echinoderms, as you can see, as I mentioned, that they have like basically the same body pattern. We can divide their body in two areas: the uh, aboral or aboral surface, which is where we don't find the mouth, and the ambulacral surface, which is where we find all the little podia, the little feet, let's say, where what that they use to move. The thing here is that it depends what they need, the shape that we can find on the echinoderms. For example, you can see, I hope you can notice the colors of these diagrams. The blue area is this ambulacral surface, which we have um, in starfish and in the brittle stars. We have it on the bottom of the sea, touching the surface where they are moving, and is where we find the mouth. So let's say the mouth is underneath of what we see. Okay, it's underneath. Then the aboral surface, which is this yellowish area that I'm pointing out in some of the diagrams, that is where we don't find the mouth. So for starfish, for Ophiuridae, we have it on the top, is what we see when we are, for example, snorkeling. But then that is like the general shape that we have for the echinoderms, or that we can think of when we say echinoderms. But then we have these other groups, the crinoides, the feather stars. We have the sea urchins. We have the sea cucumbers. So basically, they have kind of like the same shape as the body disposition, but on a different shape. For the crinoides, as you can see, for the sea lilies, they have this aboral surface that helps them to get attached. It's basically like a stem. They were at the very beginning, when they were discovered on the fossil record, they thought they were plants. They were seaweed, a different kind of seaweed, or they thought they were anemones because of this shape. Well, eventually now they know they are part of the echinoderms. Um, For the sea urchin, for example, I have another diagram coming soon, but basically it's like you take a sea star and you fold it inside out, and then you have the sea urchin, and then if you stretch the sea urchin, you have a sea cucumber. So it's a very, it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's a very simple body shape, body distribution, and it's been very efficient, as you can see, with the group coming from 500 million years ago. The characteristic, of course, of this group, and the characteristic that names the phyla, the Echinodermata phyla, um, is that their body is covered with spine. So from the 5 classes that I mentioned, 3 of them have like very notorious spines, and they are very pointy in some of those cases. So for example, the sea cucumbers, they do have spines, but they are very soft and tiny. And with the crinoides, with the feather stars and the sea lilies, they also have spines, but they have adapted them to be motile and to be a little bit softer than the others, than the other groups, because they use them also, in the case of the sea lilies, for example, to take the food inside their mouth, to move the food, all the water inside the mouth. So another very distinct characteristic is that they do have an internal skeleton. So let's just think about other organisms. For example, the crabs or the shrimps. Those are marine invertebrates. They don't have a backbone. They don't have vertebra, just like the sea urchins or the echinoderms have. Um, but the difference between, for example, this crab that is a marine invertebrate and the starfish, sea urchin, that are invertebrates, marine invertebrates as well, is that the skeleton is internal in the echinoderms. That means that they have the skeleton, and above the skeleton, they have a layer of tissue, a skin, that is covering the whole body. In the other case, in the case of other marine invertebrates, they have an external skeleton that is very rigid, that gives them a lot of protection. Just think of a crab, a lobster, for example. They have an external skeleton. The very cool thing here with the skeleton of the echinoderms is that the whole skeleton is made out of plates, like little tiny crystal of calcite plates that are called ossicles. Right here, there's an image on the bottom right, and all of those are together in this kind of like sponge, like honeycomb structure, that in some it's called sterum. Here there is a video that I wanted to share with you. You can see the skeleton of a starfish, and then all of the ossicles. The cool thing about that is that all of them are flexible. They are joined together by tissue, muscles, and connective tissue. But then the cool thing about that specific muscle is that there is a specific protein in which they can lock the muscle in a certain way, and being like that, in that position, being rigid for hours. So that helps them in protection, for example, as a defense way, or that helps them also to open shells, for example, for feeding purposes. So this specific muscle, this specific protein, is something that is unique also to the echinoderms. So, of course, we know they have this radial symmetry. Radial means that there is like this central axis, and from there you can cut different lines, and then you have like symmetric areas in between those cuts. So, well, we all know about like the starfish. They have this pentameral radial symmetry, five equal areas, and it's pretty much the same with the rest of the groups in the echinoderms. For example, excuse me, the sea cucumber, they can be bilateral. They can have two equal sides because of the way they have arranged their body. The same with sea urchins. If you have this cut on the middle, you have two equal parts. But in real terms, their internal body organization is divided in five equal parts. So if we have like this, what is was that, the city scan, and we have layers of a sea cucumber, you pretty much see it has five different areas within it. Now, the the thing that I found to be very, very cool about the echinoderms in this specific matter is that the larva, the baby echinoderms, all of them are bilateral. That means that the baby larva can only be divided into equal or parts, to be like mirror. That is uncommon for the adult shape that they turn out to be. So according to the researchers and all, with genetics now being so developed, they know there is in a certain moment of the evolution of animals, specifically echinoderms, there was a common ancestor with the bilateral animals. That means that we have a common ancestor with them, as well as the horses have a common ancestor with the starfish. Why? Because this embryo or this larva is bilateral on the first stages of development. Another thing that is very incredible in the echinoderm group is that closely they are more related in terms of embryonic development. They are more related to humans than to other invertebrates. That means that when the embryo of a starfish is developing, it develops on the same way as the embryo of a human develops. And this is very nerdy, deuterostom, just like human. This word, deuterostom, means that on the first stages of development, we have the embryo, and then we have like a folding area, a hole on the embryo development. So that hole develops into the anus, into the last part of the digestive system in animals. That happens with echinoderms and with humans. The first little folding goes into the anus, and with the other aquatic invertebrates, with the rest of the once again crabs or ants or bees, all of those develop the first folding of the embryo develops into the mouth. So, well, this is a completely whole different topic that deserves its own webinar, as many other little topics here. But I found that to be very interesting because, once again, they are closely related to humans rather than to other invertebrates. So, who knows why? It's something very, very amazing. So, well, as I mentioned, this on this video here, on this animation, the shape of the echinoderms is basically the same but arranged in a different position. So if you have the sea star and then you fold it to the aboral surface, to the part that we see, and you make it round, you have a sea urchin. And then if that sea urchin, take it on the side and stretch out, you have a sea cucumber. So basically, all the internal organs, all the arrangement of the inner part of their systems in the body is the same, basically. So they all have digestive system, they all have nervous system, reproductive, the ambulatory system that I will talk about is a very interesting one. But they have this position a little bit different depending on what class we are talking about. So all these systems, they are very simple, very basic. As I mentioned, they have nervous system, digestive system, but they don't have organs as complex as other organisms. In this case, for example, humans. Let's just compare them to us or to fish that they live in the same environment. The echinoderms, all of them, all of the 5 classes, they don't have heads. So we can just think about like, well, this might be the head, but then you see it moving to the other side. They don't have a brain, like we have, like the fish have a functional little ball of brain. uh, but they do have like these nervous rings and nervous that go, basically those are canals that go from the central part, from the ring, central ring, to the sides of, in this case, the sea star, to the side of each one of the arms. And they don't have a heart per se. They have something that is called a ring canal, and this is something more specific that I want to go in a moment, that is unique to this group of organisms, which is the water vascular system. So this would be basically both the circulatory system, like our hearts and veins and stuff, but also the food, the locomotion system. So this water vascular system is unique to the echinoderms. All of them have it, from the crinoides, from the sea lilies that are sessile, but they can move their feet, their arms to get the food, to the sea cucumbers that are very slow, or though on the bottom of the ocean, or those that can swim. I will show you a video in a moment about those. But this system is basically a group of canals that is filled with water, not specifically seawater, but of course it's taken from the ocean, with some other elements in there that helps them in the respiration, in the breathing. The breathing actually is happening through diffusion. They don't really have like lungs or gills or a respiratory system like other organisms do. So, well, this system is very well explained here, and I will let you hear. Rob, if you don't hear it, let me know.
Echinoderms move and feed like no other animals on Earth. They use remarkable organs, completely unique in the animal kingdom. Hydraulically powered tube feet.
So we see the inside now.
The tube feet of sea stars are inflated by water, drawn into the body through a single opening called a sieve plate.
So there's the water going
Water
in.
fills the 5 radial canals which run down the length of the arms, forming a hydraulic system. The water is stored in little muscular bulbs. When a bulb contracts, it forces water into the elastic tube foot, extending it. Muscles on the foot swing it in the direction the sea star wants to move.
So you see, it looks.
Sea stars can move equally well in any direction, but they must coordinate the movement of thousands of feet.
So it looks very simple. You can see just, well, some tubes filled with water, and they coordinate. They pump the water in and out of those tubes. But it takes a lot of coordination, as the video says, to move in the direction they want. So this is unique to the echinoderms. No other group of marine or terrestrial animal has this. So, well, this is something that they use not only to move, to the locomotion, but also, for example, in the case of the starfish, they also use it to open the shells for feeding purposes. So, well, uh, Now let's speak about their reproduction. Here, I wanted just to be more complicated and nerdy than usual, so I use these grown-up words. That is dioecious. Dioecious. That means that they have different sexes, that they have males and females. That's the complicated word, dioecious. So we can find males and females, their gonads, their reproductive system. In the case of starfish, brittle stars, they are in each one of the arms. In the case of sea cucumbers, sea urchins, the sea lilies, they are content in the central part of their bodies. Once again, arranged in five, in groups of five or in pairs of five. Some of them, though, can be hermaphrodite, and they can pretty much like the snails do. When they find another organism of the same species, they'll just exchange the ¿cómo se llama? The eggs and the sperm. So there's an organism with both male and female gonads, and then that organism will exchange both male and female gametes to the other organism and will receive another set of different gametes from the other organism. This video here is very cool because I had never seen that real life. This is a sea star, as you can see, releasing eggs to the column of water. The fertilization is in free life, is in the water column, pretty much like what sponges, sea sponges, coral and some fish do, that they get all together at the same time, in the same, usually at night, on the same night, and they expel the gamete to the water, either the sperm or the eggs. So here you can see the eggs are being released all at once, and somewhere around the place will be a male starfish releasing the sperm. So the fertilization occurs in water, and the larva in the first weeks of life will be planktonic. It will be moving from one part to another with the currents. Besides the sexual and asexual reproduction, they can also kind of like reproduce or multiply by fission, by the division of their body parts, like a whole body part. This is something very cool, very complex process that I won't go any deep in this because it requires the activation of certain genes that get triggered by certain environmental events or by the predation. Like on these two cases here on the right side of the slide, this is the sea stars. You can see the image on the top of the right side, the top image is one arm of a starfish regenerating the whole body, the whole rest of body and arms of the starfish. The image on the bottom, you can see is the opposite. Is a starfish that lost some arms and is regenerating in the regeneration of arms of the body. The thing here is that this can be a problem. I think I will mention in a moment, because, well, they can mate, or sorry, they can multiply without mating. So this is just like cloning themselves. This diagram on the left is from an article that I found on the molecular mechanisms on the regeneration of sea cucumbers. And you can see that just with a little bit of let's say mouth part that one piece of the sea cucumber has, they can regenerate a whole new body. Is this green area, and well, basically just a little bit of an organ will become into a full organ in a new organism. And the problem that I was mentioning about the regenerative capacities of capabilities of the echinoderms. I'm pretty sure you have heard of the crown of thorns starfish. That was it is still now, but back on 2010 more or less, it was a very huge problem in the Great Reef in Australia, the Great Reef Barrier, because this is a predator. Most of the echinoderms are predators, either sessile, like the filtering, like these sea lilies, or like the starfish that can move slowly, but they move, and then they will eat the the organisms they are looking for. So back in 2000, early 2000, there was this outbreak of the crown of thorns starfish in Australia, and what some fishermen, divers, people that we didn't know yet what was happening, they were just chopping the starfish, kind of like, oh yeah, now I will kill you in tiny pieces. Well, guess what? Those tiny pieces, they regenerate into full starfish. So there was this insane amount of crown of thorns starfish eating the coral on the Great Reef in Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So I wanted to show you these photos because just this specifically, the tiny image marked with the letter B, you can see the experiment that this group of scientists did was to cut in half one of those starfish, and then after only 7 weeks, both halves were practically completely healed. They regenerate half of their body in only 7 weeks. So of course, on those 7 weeks, they were still pretty much able to feed on the coral, able to move around the place. So just one of the things that I wanted to point out, because well, besides that, we didn't know like how well adapted they were into this regenerative process. The other thing is that sometimes we think we are helping, when in real terms we are just making more, causing more damage to the environment. So well, let's go over the groups a little bit. I finished with the generalities of the echinoderms. Uh, so the class Asteroida, the starfish, pretty well known, very beautiful. Ophiroidea, I won't go very deep on some because they are a little bit more easier to access on the information. And well, I found some other things to be a little bit more interesting for this webinar. Within the Ophiroidea class, the brittle stars, we also have the basket stars. I'm pretty sure you have seen those. They are, it seems like they have fractals in each one of their arms. They don't have five only, like the starfish, for example. They can have up to 1,000 arms. So they are not so common in shallow waters like their cousins, the brittle stars, because we can find them mostly in deep waters, in thousands of meters, in kilometers down the surface. And this specific image, for example, is the bottom of the ocean, very close to hydrothermal vent. And as you can see all around the place, I don't know if you noticed, there are many brittle stars, some bigger, some smaller than others, but the one that outstands from this area is this basket star, as you can see. And the way they are predators, they are carnivore, and the way they are feeding is that basically they attach to an area with some of their arms, and then they kind of like open the rest of the arms and wait for the food to come, pretty much like filtering. But well, they stay close to where they can be fish or mollusks or crustaceans that will go there in their arms, and then they'll just curl in and eat the organism. Within the class Crinoidea, we can see the sea lilies and the feather stars. As I mentioned, these are basically one of the oldest representative of the group, the fossil are basically like this. So most of the fossil record for the echinoderms look like this. They have not changed a lot in these hundreds of millions of years. And once again, these crinoids, the sea lilies specifically, they live beneath the surface in deeper waters. Once again, these photograms come from deep water surveys nearby the hydrothermal vents that I mentioned. And the same, these are filter feeders. They are mostly carnivores. They feed on zooplankton, which is like the animal part of the free living plankton. And once again, they open their arms, and once they have catch enough or a big prey, they will move the arm inside to the mouth, that is the central part. So basically, if you think of the disposition of this body, is once again a starfish upside down with more arms and with the aboral surface elongated and attached to the bottom to be sessile. Then within the same class, the Crinoidea class, we have the feather stars. These one are a little bit more popular in shallower waters, some hundreds of meters. And something cool about this is that they do move. They can move. They can relocate themselves from one area to another by swim with their arms. So they have these. Let's say they have two different set of arms. One of those that is to grab stuff and get sessile in an area, and the other group of arms, which are these feather-like projections, are the ones that they use to catch, once again, filter feeders, to catch their food and then take it within the mouth. Then on the next group, the class Echinoderm, we have sea urchins and sand dollars. I'm pretty sure you have seen sand dollars when they are dry, and you can see there is like this flower shape in the skeleton. So here, all of these are live sand dollars. You don't see that shape very clearly. You need to pay attention, but it is there. It is there, and the reason for that specific shape is that there are certain organs there, either the gonads, the reproductive organs, or some other set of digestive also organs. So that's why we can see this shape on the sand dollars. So they are all covered in spine, but they are not as sharp or as long as on the sea urchins. Basically, think about sand dollars as being a squished sea urchin. So you just press it down, and it stays flat like that. That is a sand dollar, basically. Sea urchins, very well known. Some of them have these very long spines that are so frightening. Luckily, I had a teacher, a parenthesis with the sea urchins. I had a teacher that used to tell us that you are not a marine biologist until you get stung by a sea urchin. So I have to confess, then I'm not a marine biologist because I have never been luckily stung by a sea urchin. People that have been stung, they say is one of the most painful stings that they have had. So even more painful than a bee, than a wasp, because each one of the spines is covered with a biofilm of mucus or bacteria or another organisms that live with the sea urchin. So that actually causes a micro immediate infection in the area where you get stung. So it's I don't know if you get stung, but you can see when that happens, the skin gets red immediately, then it gets swollen, and then if you don't take the spine as soon as possible, you can get a very bad infection on the area. But not all the sea urchins have spines. This image on the right side, on the right top, the bottom of the slide, That is a sea urchin that actually has suction cups in each one. Actually, the spines are so small that the suction cups, that is part of the ambulacral system, the water vascular system that they use to walk, is outside. They have projections, and these sea urchins, being softer and having more tissue exposed than the others, they actually get rocks or shells to cover their body. So I'm pretty sure you have seen those. They are popular in documentaries. So the sea urchins are predators as the others, but these are very good predators, and they are very well adapted for predation. They have a specific organ within their body named the Aristotle's lantern. It is pretty much like a beak, once again, with five projections. Here on the little image on the top left, you can see the mouth and these teeth-like projections. Those are the five parts of the Aristotle's lantern. And this other here is the Aristotle lantern, as it is located on the inside of the sea urchin. The video that is now playing is the sea urchin being fed in a laboratory, and luckily for us, we can see how they are taking the fish with the ambulacral feet. Remember, with all these projections they are moving the fish within them, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see in a moment the Aristotle's lantern, all the teeth, how it starts eating the fish and taking the fish inside the body. So they can eat pretty much anything. They are carnivores, omnivores. And there was a very bad problem in a certain time. You can see the Aristotle's lantern right there on the video, right there. There was a very bad problem in the kelp forest, the seaweed, the seaweed called kelp. This seaweed is attached to the bottom, and then it grows very, very, very tall to the surface of the ocean. But the sea urchin was feeding on the bottom part of the seaweed. So that caused that we lost, or the area lost, a lot of kelp. So we had like pretty much like deforestation in a land forest. We had cut some seaweeds from the forest, and then we have patches without the seaweed. This happened because on these areas where we had those outbreaks of sea urchins, they were hunting the sea otters. So the sea otters are feeding on sea urchins, and the sea urchins were feeding on the seaweed. Remove one of those predators, and we have this very bad outbreak of sea urchins, causing, of course, the diminution of seaweed. So then we have sea cucumbers. These are very cool organisms because they don't look like anything else. I'm pretty sure you are thinking about one thing or two that they look like. But once again, it's just a sea urchin on the side and elongated. So many shapes in terms of short, long, and many colors. It depends where you find them, where they are living, the coloration they have. Some of them are a little bit more like brighter in coloration, like this big sea cucumber that we see here, because they live in clearer environments. They have to camouflage with the sand, with the bottom. Some of them actually get in the they burrow in the sand, and they just leave their gills, their digestive system, part of the digestive system, to come up and being filtering and catching the prey. And here I wanted to show you a video that I was not able to put there, but this is a sea cucumber that was found on the bottom of the ocean, very deep down, couple of kilometers down by the NOAA organization, is the administration. And as you can see, it's feeding on the bottom. But then I need to pause a little bit here. The sea cucumber was feeding at the bottom, and then if you notice this long piece of sand over here, that's its poop. This sea cucumber just finished eating, pooped, and then something amazing, it started swimming. So this is an adaptation that some deep bottom sea cucumbers have, in which they are in the bottom, they finish their business, or they feel in danger, and they start just moving around the place to a better location. So basically, that's a species, an adaptation within this group of echinoderms that we cannot find in others. Like the feather stars, those do kind of the same thing, like they swim to get to a better place. And I wanted to show you the poop. I'm pretty sure if you have a little bit of a scientific background, or you are like very passionate about nature, I'm pretty sure you get excited about the poop of other animals, because they are very important in their natural environment. For example, the poop of these parrotfish that are on the Caribbean area, they are eating the algae that is growing on the reefs, on the coral reefs. So when they take a bite of the coral reef, of course they are taking some of the carbonate that the reef itself has. When they poop, it's clean white sand. So when we are on the Caribbean, when we are on this area of the ocean with clear sands, most of the sand, up to 70-80% of the sand, comes from the parrotfish's poop. So just for you to think about that. In this case, with the sea cucumbers, the same. The poop that they excrete is basically pure sand. So this can be reused by other organisms, for example, mollusks, when they are making their shells, the oysters or any other bivalve. They reuse the sand to create new body parts in this case. So well, I wanted to show you that because it's very important and people sometimes don't take notice of that. Another thing that sea cucumbers have that is very specific of them is the defense mechanisms. A lot of them have toxin within their body, and once they get a bite from a predator, they will taste bad, or the predator will feel bad, so they will leave the rest of the body there. They will regenerate and keep going. Some of them, or most of them, do what is called evisceration. That is basically to expel the whole gut, the whole digestive system, and well, they don't run, but they move faster away from the predator while the predator is eating the insides that they just eviscerate. And then another adaptation that some few of the sea cucumbers have is the expulsion of the Cuvierian tubules. These ones are kind of like sticky filaments that are attached to the digestive system. And once they expel those Cuvierian tubes, the predator will taste those, and they taste very bad. They are sticky and they have toxins. So they will eat that non-vital part of their body, and well, they leave the sea cucumber alone. And we're almost closing, and just I wanted to share that unfortunately some of the species that I mentioned, some of the groups that I mentioned of echinoderms are under pressure. All of them are under pressure because of the acidification of the ocean, the global the climate change, which is making our oceans warmer in some areas, and some specifically because of their fishing or poaching. Sea urchins and sea cucumbers, they are fished, harvested, because they are consumed as food, mostly in the Asian sectors of the globe. Luckily for us, besides the pressure they face in nature because of the illegal poaching, like many other species, unfortunately, luckily for us, there are a lot of research centers and institutions that are cultivating those, that are farming those in a kind of like sustainable way. They have like sea urchin farms, sea cucumber farms, and then from there they provide to the food chain that humans want. So I think, thank you very much. That's it. I think we have some time for the questions, Rob. Thank you.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. Okay, let's get to some questions. So, just to clarify, um, is there a difference between a starfish and a sea star, or are they the same thing?
Starfish and sea star is the same. Starfish and sea star is this one. So if you see one of like the crown is the crown of thorn, we can call it crown of thorn starfish or crown of thorn sea star. It's exactly the same.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that for us. So, have scientists been able to find ancient sea lilies and feather stars in sea sediment? Do we know of any?
Yes. Yeah. Is the question going to the fossils, I assume?
Yes.
In the sediments, yes. This is a fossil of those sea lilies from the Silurian period, which is long time ago. And yeah, basically, in all these areas that we have marine fossils, they have found, if not the whole body, as I mentioned, parts of it that they have now identified as the sea lilies. So yes, they have found those.
Do echinoderms prey on other echinoderms?
Yes, yeah. Actually, the bigger starfish can eat the small ones. The bigger starfish can eat, for example, the cousins. These ones, the brittle stars. So if we find, usually the starfish are way bigger than the brittle stars, and if they get any closer and the starfish is hungry, they will eat the little ones. The same with within the other groups, except for those that are filter feeders, such as the feather stars or the sea lilies and some sea cucumbers. They will not predate on the other echinoderms unless they are free living. They are embryos or larvae. They will get those.
Are echinoderms found worldwide, or are they more concentrated in tropical areas?
No, they are found. Those are one of the few marine organisms so complex that can be found anywhere in the world, from the cold waters of the Alaska to the cold waters of Tierra del Fuego in South America. So you can find them on any latitude and actually at any depth. They are always on the bottom. So if you have a depth of, I don't know, 10,000, not 10,000, I don't know, 1,000 feet, they will be on the bottom. If there's just 100 feet, they will be on the bottom. But any depth and any latitude on the globe. So yeah, they are very cosmopolitan. Every ocean as well.
So, how long does it take for the sea urchin to become a fully mature adult?
Well, as with everything in biology, it depends on the species. But in general, from the little tiny larva to the sexually mature adult, it can range from, yeah, like 5 to 7 weeks in some of the species. It has to be a lot with the size that they get when they are adults. So the smaller, when they are adult, if they are smaller, they will develop faster from the larva stage to the adult. If they are bigger, they will develop a little bit slower. But yeah, let's say month and a half in general terms for the sea urchins.
Great, thank you. So, just how does the sea otter deal with the sea urchin spines?
Yeah, that's very cool because I'm pretty sure you have seen how sea urchins are like, just like laying back, floating, very comfortable on the ocean. They actually grab some seaweed so they don't float away, and they get a stone and then they smash the sea urchin. They first smash the big spines so they don't get stung, and then they smash a little bit the inside, the shell, the skeleton. They open and then they eat the inside. So pretty much like, I don't know if you have seen those apes. I think those are chimpanzees that are using rocks to open seeds or fruits. Pretty much the same, but the sea otter is doing that in the ocean while floating on the attached with the seaweed. So yeah, just like that, smashing them with a rock.
Great. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that is going to be the last question that we do have time for today. So
Okay.
I'd like to hand it back to you for your closing comments.
Yes, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Was as always, there's so much information, so many more information that was not able to get here. So just go online, check. There are marvelous videos. Those that I showed you are just a few of those, but go specifically on the group that you like the best, and check where you can find them when you go to the beach. uh, I don't support touching them because, well, no one wants to be touched without consent. But just take a look on them and appreciate them for what they are. As I always say, keep in touch with nature, and I hope that we meet again soon. Thank you, Rob.
Melissa, thank you so much for taking time on your birthday to present for us today.
Yes.
And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. So if you are interested in information on how you could travel with NatHab, please give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including our registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.